Good afternoon. Thank you for joining our webinar. Our presentation will begin in a few moments.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to be with us today. I'm Laurie Curtin. I'm the Chief Operating Officer here at the NRMP. You've already heard from Joy Gaabucayan. She's the NRMP Director of Policy and Compliance, and we do have our trusty compliance analysts on this presentation with us to share some new information and to provide some refreshers on match policy so that you all feel you're ready for the 2025 fellowship match season. So for our agenda today, we're going to start. Joy, can you go back one slide just to make sure that's possible? There we are. Great. Just want you be able to follow along with. For the agenda today, we're going to start by just talking a little bit about why the match policy matters and how we hope it strengthens the match experience for all participants. We'll then move into some new policy language and match process for next year's fellowship matches. We'll review some of the more relevant parts of the match agreements to make sure you are aware of key policy clauses, and then walk you through the steps that we take here at the NRMP to support programs when bumps in the road to fellow onboarding may occur. We'll close with a few updates and goings-on that we want you to know about. There should be some time for questions, but certainly you can drop your inquiries into the Q&A feature as we move through the slides, and our analysts will do their best to respond in real time. And again, if there's time at the end, we will answer some questions live as well. So the NRMP's match policies support the organization's really our longstanding reputation for maintaining a matching program that is fair, transparent, equitable, efficient, and reliable. And we do that in part by providing guidance on match participation and protecting the rights and responsibilities of all constituents to both receive and promote professional and ethical behavior. So how do match policies do that for the matching process specifically? What you see here on this slide are some ways in which we think match policy is central to processing a match. The agreements define each participant group and outline their eligibility for match participation. The agreements shield the ranking preferences and ranking decisions of each participant from coercion or exposure. The agreements lock in the commitment of each participant to honor the match outcome, thereby ensuring continuity of training across the transition. And the match agreements authorize the evaluation of behaviors and/or actions that could compromise the integrity of the match. To ensure a transition that is as seamless as possible, the NRP's match policies also try to provide some structure to aspects of the transition that are not directly focused on matching. So in that way, the NRMP's agreements require disclosure of complete, timely, and accurate information, not just an applicant's education or prior training, but also information they may need to share about possible legal matters. For programs, it's about extending the contracts and onboarding requirements. The agreements also mandate ethical and professionally responsible behavior at all phases. So no logging into someone else's profile and changing their ranks, no coercion, no plagiarism of personal statements. We want to make sure the policies foster transparency and equity during the interview invitation and acceptance period, making sure that applicants have space and time to consider the programs with which they want to meet for those interviews. And the agreements also authorize the transmission of match information for research purposes. We want to be sure that we can build the necessary partnerships with other med-ed organizations to combine data and come up with really good questions that help address issues that are related to application and ranking and matching, but also training opportunities and career trajectories. Next slide. So why does policy really matter? In the end, we're hopeful that our policies help foster parity, equity, and accountability during the transition. We believe all participants should be able to navigate the match with the same rules and timelines, that participants should have access to a matching venue that is impartial and really driven solely by individual preferences, and that participants should treat each other and the match with integrity and professionalism. So as we move through today's presentation, we hope that you can keep these objectives in mind and recognize that the policies really are intended to guide and support all individuals through the transition. So with a little bit of that foundation sort of presented or laid out, let's take a look at the Specialties Matching Service, or the SMS, and some new policy language for matches that are opening in 2025. We'd first like to acknowledge the few fellowship matches that remain open for July 2025 appointments. The last of this year's matches are underway, and they're set to close out in December and early January. And they include Medicine and Pediatric Specialties Match, which had its match day last Wednesday, December 4th. Rehabilitation Medicine, their match day will be next week on the 18th. And then on January 8th, we will close out the Psychiatry Specialties and the Sports Medicine Fellowship matches. Again, those are for July 2025 appointments. And we are always excited to welcome new specialties into the SMS family. This year, interventional cardiology joined the Medicine and Pediatrics Fellowship Match that concluded just last week. And we're pleased to announce that 3 new pathology subspecialties are joining the SMS this upcoming year for July 2026 appointment. So hematopathology, molecular and genetic pathology, and bone and soft tissue pathology will join forensic pathology to create a combined fellowship match for that specialty. The timeline for that match actually occurs February, March, and April. So it will kick off here relatively soon in the new year. And for any pathology fellowship program directors we have on the call, we certainly welcome you to the SMS. So now let's turn attention to some new policy language in the match agreements. So NRMP policies are, as I explained, a critical part of the match experience. And as we've covered already, they really do govern the NRMP matching program to outline participant roles and responsibilities for match participation. In recent years, the match agreements really have been modernized to provide hopefully better flow of information, more targeted contact, and increased guidance for all of our match participants. As part of the registration process, participants are provided with an important notice page that identifies key policies, where they're prompted to read the entire match agreement and attest that way they will comply with the policies and adhere to the outcomes of the match. When the match registration process is complete, the MPA then becomes a binding contract. So there is some new language going into the match agreements for matches that open after January 1. The NRMP has heard from institution officials over time with questions regarding what we call the oversight clause in the SMS match agreements that references unaccredited fellowship programs and what it means to govern those programs. So this past summer, the NRP staff came together and worked to clarify that language in the match agreements. So specifically, what we've outlined is that the NRP's expectation of IOs, institution officials, with respect to the oversight of unaccredited fellowships, is to ensure that all programs, regardless of accreditation status, understand and comply with the rules of the match, and that they're providing the necessary information to the institution, so whether they intend to participate in a match, they're providing necessary information to the NRMP, for example, what is the accurate quota, the number of positions you're looking to fill, and that they're providing the necessary information to applicants. Again, some of that complete and timely, accurate information about eligibility and onboarding. So we're hoping that, again, it's not so much a policy or a process change, but clarified language that we hope provides an improved sense of regulation so that IOs can better determine what oversight and governance of unaccredited programs really means for them. So what about guidance for unaccredited fellowship programs in the SMS? There we go. So the NRMP has also added language to clarify in the SMS MPA's unaccredited fellowship programs and their match eligibility. So you can see the bold language on the screen. We've added language that provides examples of how an affiliation might be established or defined between unaccredited fellowship programs and the ACGMA accredited program in the primary discipline. So that's been a long-standing policy of the NRMP, but here in this language, we're trying to give some good examples. So maybe it's shared resources between the unaccredited subspecialty and the core discipline. There's a sharing of faculty for that fellow training and supervision, or perhaps there's even a program letter of agreement that establishes that affiliation. It can be these sorts of things or others. These are just examples. But the language is here, and it's meant also to remind unaccredited programs of the role the IO plays in tracking their participation in and compliance with the rules of the match. So again, the language here at the bottom of the screen really just reinforces what we just shared with you about that IO oversight and ensuring unaccredited fellowship programs understand and comply with match participation actions and policies. Next slide. There we go. As a reminder, the NRMP has long had the discretion to determine whether to investigate a reported an alleged breach of a match agreement. What has been added to the SMS match agreements, though, is new language recommending a time frame for the reporting of suspected violations. So we now ask programs to report alleged violations within 1 year of learning about the alleged violation. The alleged violation also must have occurred during the first 45 days from the date specified in the appointment contract, as that is the point at which the regulation of a match commitment by the NRMP concludes. The NRMP certainly has seen an uptick, our policy team has seen an uptick in requests from applicants and programs to investigate alleged breaches of match policy that either happened in a prior match cycle, so not really governed by the current version of the match agreement, or to investigate alleged breaches that fall outside the purview of the NRMP's oversight, maybe troubling matters or circumstances, but not one for which the NRMP has any real authority per the match agreement. So we're hopeful that this language makes clear when it is the NRMP can get involved with an alleged breach of policy, should the program report it to us in a timely manner. So those are some of the new policy updates or policy language that will go into the match agreements for January 1. With those covered, we want to pivot to a process change that the NRMP is implementing for SMS fellowship matches this next year. So specifically, starting January 17th, 2025, fellowship program directors and institution administrators will have the ability to activate programs for participation in the applicable fellowship match. In the graphic here on the screen, we sort of outline the current process, which many of you probably know. Your institution official will activate the institution, and then the IO activates the programs for that particular match, and the quota from the program's participation the prior year rolls over in the R3 system. At that time, program directors can register with the match and verify their program information and quota. So the IO traditionally has been required to activate both the institution and the programs for match participation. But with this new functionality, that new process line you see, IOs will continue to activate the institution, but will now have the option to direct the IA or the PD to activate their programs. So this allows the institution official the ability to ensure that programs confirm their participation in the match at the program level. It also allows program directors to update their program quota in a more timely and efficient manner. Program coordinators can see the program status in the R3 system. That does not change, but they cannot activate programs. We included a QR code here on this screen, and it takes you to the announcement that we posted just this week about the sort of enhanced program activation features. The statement was posted on our website. It does include some more information. It includes a graphic. It provides a little bit more of a drill down into the enhanced R3 system capabilities for PDs and institution administrators, and we hope you'll take a moment to review it. If you have questions, you can always reach out to the NRMP at support@nrmp.org. So now I'm going to turn it over to Joy, who's going to take us through a review of some highlights from the match agreements that are critical for programs. Joy?
Thank you, Laurie. What we'd like to focus on in this section are the parts of the match participation agreement that are particularly important for programs to be aware of because they reflect conditions that often pose challenges for programs across the application, interview, and matching processes. Common pitfalls include programs offering more interview slots than available, which requires applicants to respond in less than 48 hours. Programs failing to provide complete and timely, accurate information to applicants, or programs asking applicants where else they applied and/or their ranking intentions. The matching process. Programs fails to honor the binding commitment. A program offers a match position prior to receiving a waiver from the NRMP, or a program offers a position to an applicant matched to a concurrent year position in another program. Let's examine these sections of the match agreement that address these pitfalls to understand what the language says, what it means for programs, and ways to avoid the non-compliance. The NRMP wants and encourages all match participants and stakeholders to move through the transition with integrity and professionalism. There is language in the SMS match agreements that reference ethical behavior, and it's found in Section 6.1 of the MPA for programs. It reads that all match participants are required to conduct their affairs in an ethical and professionally responsible manner, and the duty under this agreement extends throughout the application, interview, and matching process, and throughout the 45th day following the start date of training as listed in the appointment contract, or upon the conclusion of any NRMP-related waiver review, violation investigation, or appeal process. We have also included here a QR code for you that takes you to the Match Code of Conduct for Programs, a document that outlines actions programs and all members of their recruitment team should take to ensure applicants are treated equitably and respectfully. We hope you will take a moment to read the code and use it as a guide during the match. In 2023, the NRMP introduced a new policy around interview period. The policy is intended to bring clarity and guidance to the interview component of the transition to fellowship and create accountability for those applicants or programs who reportedly engage in unprofessional practices. During the recruitment phase, programs are expected to extend only the total number of interview slots available and not exceed that number by overbooking applicants to interview. An example of this is when a program sends out more than one interview invitation for a single interview slot as a first-come, first-served practice. It is also important to note that programs placing applicants on a wait list may only extend one wait list offer at a time. The interview period policy also stipulates that applicants invited to interview shall be provided 48 hours to accept or reject that interview offer. This provides reasonable time for applicants to consider their options and also respects all applicants' current clinical and academic schedule obligations. And finally, programs must provide a reasonable time frame to notify applicants of cancellations or interview rescheduling, regardless of virtual or in-person interviews. It is equally important to note that applicants are also held accountable to the interview policy, and applicants must also provide reasonable measure of notification to the program when needing to cancel or reschedule an interview. While the interview season may not be as intense or chaotic for fellowship matches, we share it here as a reminder of the need for applicants and programs alike to minimize any unnecessary stress associated with recruitment. A policy that can trip up programs is the recruitment for programs to provide applicants with complete, timely, and accurate information. This information includes all written, electronic, and verbal information provided to applicants throughout recruitment, onboarding, and through the 45th day following the appointment start date, as well as all written, electronic, and verbal information provided to the NRMP. Programs must notify applicants of any material changes to appointment agreements and reveal all pertinent institutional policies. Visa eligibility, onboard screenings, those are all examples of what would be required. So applicants can make full, informed decisions about their ranking preferences. Programs are required to provide this information to all applicants interviewed in advance of the applicable rank order list certification deadline. It is recommended that programs have a method of documenting that they have provided all pertinent information to applicants. Please note that this complete, timely, and accurate information policy does not apply only to programs. Applicants are also required to provide complete, timely, and accurate information to the program regarding either their eligibility status to enter training or any information that could be pertinent to a program's decision to rank the applicant. The requirement for complete, timely, and accurate information outlines what programs have to communicate and talk about with applicants. Let's touch base on what programs cannot talk about. Restrictions on Persuasion section of the MPA explicitly states that programs cannot request applicants to reveal ranking preferences, preference signals, or the names, specialties, geographic locations, or other identifying information about programs to which they have or may apply. The same holds true with respect to interview invitations accepted, declined, or attended. As mentioned earlier, the match strives to maintain a fair process for all parties. Limiting questions about other programs an applicant may be considering protects and respects an applicant's right to privacy, and it minimizes undue or unwarranted pressure. In addition, programs are encouraged to submit rank order lists that are based on applicants' credentials and goodness of fit for the program, rather than the likelihood of the applicant ranking the program. How might this work in an interview? A program cannot ask about other programs to which the applicant is applying. A program can, however, ask applicants why they are interested in their specific program or specialty, or a particular town or region. And applicants may volunteer information about other programs if they choose to do so. Again, we encourage questions that minimize undue pressure and rather focus on the fit with the program. Where else is an applicant applying is not considered a primary detriment of the applicant's fit in a program. Programs may voluntarily communicate to an applicant that they are viewed favorably and will be ranked. Applicants and programs are free to communicate with each other within the context of the restrictions on persuasion up to and until the rank order list certification deadline. Please be sure all institution staff who participate in interviews, decision-making, or who can speak for the program are aware of our policies. Restrictions on persuasion requirements hold true after the match has concluded. Some programs issue post-match surveys. It's fine to do that, but there should be no questions about how or where applicants placed your program on the rank order list. What happens when a program hits a bump in the road with respect to matched applicants in the NRMP? We're going to take a look at that. A cornerstone of the NRMP matching program is the binding commitment that is created when a match occurs. The match participation agreements stipulate that applicants and programs entering into a binding commitment when they are matched. The binding commitment holds for 45 days from the start date on the appointment contract. Neither applicants nor programs can terminate a binding commitment during the first 45 days absent a waiver from the NRMP. The binding commitment must be honored by all parties. The match participation agreement also prohibits a program from discussing, interviewing for, or offering a position to an applicant who has obtained a concurrent year position in another program through the NRMP, or who is ineligible as the result of a denied waiver or a confirmed violation. It is crucial for programs to ensure that the applicants they are considering are eligible to match and do not have a concurrent match commitment or a violation sanction. The applicant match history tool available in R3 system was designed to assist program directors, program coordinators, and institution staff in determining whether an applicant has a concurrent match commitment and/or was the subject of a waiver review or violation investigation. This information is accessible throughout the year, regardless of whether the match in which the institution participates is open or closed. It's also important to note that neither an applicant nor a program can release each other from a binding commitment. An applicant or program may consent to a verbal or written release or delay of training, but that consent does not carry weight with the NRMP. All waivers or deferrals must be approved by the NRMP, even if the training period has already commenced. What are the conditions under which the NRMP will consider a waiver or deferral of the match commitment? Unanticipated, serious, and extreme hardships, change of specialty only for advanced positions or a fellowship position, ineligibility to begin training, a delayed graduation, an incomplete PGY 1 year, or visa issues. Keep in mind, a deferral is not a waiver, but a 1-year delayed start of training. And as long as both parties agree, then we could also have a waiver approved for you. The NRMP maintains a robust procedure for reviewing waiver and deferral requests. This slide presents a general overview. Applicant or program submits a waiver or a deferral request form to the NRMP. Our forms can be located on our website. All parties must agree to the deferral in order to process the request. Once the request is submitted, there can be no discussing, interviewing, offering, or accepting another position until NRMP has rendered a decision. The NRMP will send requests for statements to all relevant parties, and once all information is collected, the case is forwarded for review. The NRMP will then notify all parties of the decision. Depending on the time of the year, waiver reviews can take 2 to 3 weeks. It is important that all parties are aware of the request and ready to submit any information requested by the NRMP. If a waiver is approved, the applicant may obtain another position or participate in future matches, and the program may begin to recruit for their position. If a waiver is not approved, both parties are expected to honor the binding commitment. Failure to honor the binding commitment is grounds for a violation investigation and potential levying of sanctions. If an applicant waiver is denied and the applicant does not accept the match position, he or she is barred from NRMP match participating programs for 1 year from the date of the NRMP's decision, and a violation investigation is initiated. Programs that decline to honor the binding commitment will have a violation investigation also initiated. In the event either party disagrees with the initial waiver decision, reconsideration may be requested if the party meets criteria for reconsideration. A separate review of the case will be conducted and a final decision will be rendered. Our key takeaways for today: programs cannot release applicants from the binding commitment. Only the NRMP has the authority to do so. Programs cannot discuss, interview, or offer a match position to another applicant until a waiver has been granted by the NRMP. Programs cannot discuss, interview for, or offer a position to an applicant who has a concurrent year match commitment and has not obtained a waiver from the NRMP. Reconsideration can be requested if a waiver is denied. There are also times when the NRMP receives notices of alleged match policy violations by programs. The SMS match agreement for programs references violations in section 11.0, and the QR code on our screen here will take you to the violations policy, which outlines the robust investigative and reporting actions taken by the NRMP and the range of sanctions the NRMP is authorized to levy. When an alleged violation of policy is reported to the NRMP, the procedures outlined here are used to conduct an investigation. If the subject of an investigation wishes to contest the findings outlined in the review panel report, the case goes to arbitration and the sanctions are stayed pending on the outcome of that arbitration. For programs with confirmed violation of NRMP policies, the NRMP is authorized to send notice of final disposition to this list of entities, including but not limited to the NRMP Institutional Office for transmittal to the institution's Graduate Medical Education Committee, the chair of the institution's Graduate Medical Education Committee, the ACGME for distribution to the respective RC committee, the respective specialty program director association, the party who originally reported the violation, and any federal or state regulatory agency or private accreditation entity that may have enforcement authority over the matter. Here's what we have available at the NRMP to help you learn and navigate match policies. We have many resources that help programs and institutions, most of which are found on the NRMP website. They include policy videos, monthly policy corner tips, codes of conduct, and FAQs. These resources offer helpful insights, guidance, and answers to common questions and the needs of the participants. We hope you'll take some time to review, and you can always reach out to us with any questions you have. Now I'm going to turn it back over to Laurie, and she's going to discuss updates and goings on at the NRMP that might help and inform your match experience.
Thank you, Joy. We want to both remind you of some fee changes coming in 2025 for the fellowship match cycle, but also to share with you some additional changes that will roll out for fellowship matches in 2026 and 2027. So I know there's quite a bit of content on this screen. We're going to take a minute and just break it down here a little bit. For fellowship matches opening after June 30th of 2025, there will be a new fee structure. We did message this information out sometime, I think this past March or April, but we certainly want to review it again. The institution registration fee for matches after June 30th will move to $300 per match. Currently, that fee is $250. The program registration fee will be $100 per program track. That fee currently is $60. And the per applicant matched to program fee will be $75 per applicant. Currently, it is $60. So those are changes that will not go into effect January, but rather matches opening after June 30th of this next year. For matches opening, for all fellowship matches, I should say, opening after January 1, 2026, the NRMP will pivot from a per applicant matched fee to a certified positions fee. So what this means really is that institutions will be invoiced based on each program's certified positions or number of certified positions in a match, rather than each applicant successfully matched to a program. For many fellowships, that number probably will be approximately the same, but we do recognize for some specialties that number might be quite different. That is one reason we are pushing this out a full year, to give time for programs and institutions to understand what that fee structure means, certainly to reach out to the NRMP with any questions. So again, pivoting from a per applicant matched to a program fee to a certified positions fee for matches opening after January 1, 2026. For fellowship matches opening after January 1, 2027, that certified positions fee will increase $10 from $75 to $85 per certified position. There will be no institution and program registration fee changes for 2027. So here we go. On this slide, tried to put it in a table. Again, that's a lot of information, and the cadence, the rollout of the fee changes sort of differs depending on where we are in the calendar year. So hopefully this table is helpful to show you, give you a better sort of overall view of what the rollout will be. There will be good to note, there will be no changes to the billing or the invoice structure or the process currently utilized by the NRMP to bill institutions and to notify them of their fees. The board of directors approved the changes in these fees to support the variety of initiatives and enhancement that the NRMP is currently working on and looking to take on to improve or inform the matching process as part of the transition to both residency and fellowship. Fee increases for institutions and programs have not occurred at the NRMP since 2018. So we will have some more messaging going out about these changes before the end of the year. We will continue that messaging certainly throughout 2025. We want to make sure that institutions and programs have ample time to understand what the fee structure changes will be and to consider their budget plans going forward. Another topic we want to make sure you're aware of is the change to the vetting process for residents and fellows who train or rotate through the Veterans Affairs. So we've got a little bit of information here on the screen. The Department of Veterans Affairs is enhancing its security posture. It's strengthening what they call strengthening the credential and vetting practices for physicians who rotate through the VA per federal guidelines. So what we know right now here at the NRMP is that in addition to the fingerprint and law enforcement special agreement check, or the SAC, which will still be required, health professions trainees will also be subject to some additional suitability checks that vary based on citizenship status. The screenshot you see here is the homepage for the Office of Academic Affiliations or Academic Affairs. This is the organization that NRMP has certainly been in touch with, that we understand liaise with the various institutions and programs across the country that may have affiliations with the VA and do some or part of their resident and fellow rotations through VA affiliated hospitals. Joy, if we move to the next slide. Here, this QR code is going to take you to the statement that we have on the NRMP website that outlines the information we have right now about the vetting changes and includes reminders for programs and institutions about match policy and the obligation of programs with those VA affiliations to make sure that they are informing their interviewed applicants of this change. This sort of harkens back to what we spoke about a little bit earlier, the need to provide that complete, timely, and accurate information to applicants about that eligibility, about that onboarding, so that they're making fully informed decisions about their ability to meet eligibility requirements should they match to your program. The statement we have up on the website also has 2 resources from the Office of Academic Affiliations at the Veterans Affairs that hopefully will provide some additional guidance and offer some answers to some commonly asked questions. If you have questions about this as it pertains to match policy, please don't hesitate to email us at policy@nrmp.org. To be sure, this is not an NRMP policy, but we do want to make sure we are monitoring the situation. We stay in touch with the OAA, with the VA. We will certainly provide updates to the GME community as we receive them. So want to make sure this is on your radar, not our policy directly, but we will continue to message on what we know to be about the VA screening, updates and timelines for its rollout, and anything we can do to get that information to you, we certainly will make that a priority. Lastly, here we go. Lastly, we are pleased to share with you our updated policies webpage. We hope you'll take a minute and head over to our policies webpage. You're going to see it's easier to identify some left menu bar options. We've featured some more targeted headers. We hope that makes the content you're looking for easier to find. We also have a content block at the top of the page that allows us to bring you some curated resources for that just-in-time match process. That we hope you find it easier to navigate, easier to find information that will help you as you move through the match. And we will continue to bring topics of interest and helpful resources to you. So we hope you take a moment to check out our new policy page on the website. That is what we have today in terms of directed content for you. We do have some time for some questions, so give us just a moment here to open up the Q&A. Let's see what we can find, and if we can answer some questions here for the greater good of the community, we are happy to do so.
Yes, Laurie, there was a question in there that I'd like to read to you.
Sure.
What is the difference between the per applicant matched fee versus certified positions fee? I don't understand.
Okay, let me see what I can do. So the per applicant matched fee is a fee that comes out as part of the institution billing that occurs at the conclusion of the match that says, hey, for a particular specialty, and I'm just going to pick on, let's take cardiovascular disease. If it's a cardiovascular disease program at a given institution and they have matched 3 candidates to that particular program, then the per matched applicant fee would be a fee charged for each of those 3 applicants. Pivoting to a certified positions fee means the cardiovascular disease program may have a quota of 5. They may have 5 certified positions in the match. They may fill 3 of them, but the certified positions fee would be a fee that is charged for each of those 5 positions. So again, there could be some discrepancies for some fellowships or programs. They may have a larger number of certified positions in the match than they actually fill with those applicants. For some specialties, it will be one and the same. But that is the probably the easiest way to define and provide some basic description. Per applicant match looks at who actually obtains a position in the match when the match is concluded versus a certified positions fee, which is really based more on the active final quota that a program is putting in the match, hoping to fill through the matching process. So I hope that is helpful, provide some clarity. If I'm not quite hitting the mark, you can certainly drop that back into the Q&A, or certainly you can reach out to us at the policy email, and we will continue to provide some clarity to make sure you're clear and comfortable on what the pivot change means for 2026.
Okay, and we have another question. What is the effective date in regards to the VA? Does this apply to fellows completing research but not seeing patients in the VA?
That is an excellent question, and I'm sorry we can't really answer that right now. The information, again, I would encourage everybody to go and read the statement and look at the resources that we have embedded from the OAA. The information is still, what I would say from the NRMP's perspective, still forthcoming. They are working on some resources. My understanding is the OAA is working on some resources to be able to deliver directly to the GME community. I can tell you, I do believe the increased or the enhanced screening process has already started for international medical graduates that are, or I should say IMGs that are active in residency and fellowship positions right now, who may at some point during the calendar year 2024 already began their rotations through the VA. My understanding for U.S. citizens, the vetting process, the enhanced vetting process will kick in sometime this April, upcoming April of 2025. So it's a little fluid. Some of it is already underway, depending on citizenship status. Some is yet to be rolled out. I can't provide super specifics, again, because it's not an NRMP-driven policy. But if you've got questions, hopefully some of that can be answered in the NRMP statement. Being able to reach out to the Office of Academic Affiliations with the VA certainly is something I would encourage you to do as well. If you're a programmed staff director and you want to work with your IO on this, that's probably a good idea too. We will continue to message once we have new information and updated information to share. But some of those nuanced questions are great ones, just not ones we can answer right now.
And one last question. Can a PC be given the privilege to list, certify the program quota? Sometimes the PD is a bit more removed from the process.
I appreciate your question. That is not currently functionality that the NRMP leadership and the governance is looking to extend to program coordinators. I think some of that is just the historic carryover that the program director does maintain ultimate oversight for the quota and the rank order list and the reporting and that direction of onboarding. So right now, my understanding is that the ability to certify rank order lists to finalize quotas in the match is a functionality that would stay with the program director, but we can certainly always take that back to leadership and continue to talk that through to see what or when or how some of those privileges should be adjusted in the R3 system going forward.
And then another question.
Yeah.
Are all interventional cardiology programs mandated to participate in the match?
They are not. We did not get into the all-in policy in today's webinar, although we certainly can bring that back if there is interest. And I bring up the all-in policy because there are participation requirements differ for the NRMP based on the main residency match for core residency and the specialties matching service for fellowships. We do have about a dozen fellowship subspecialties that what we call voluntarily elect to implement the all-in policy, which in essence says, hey, if you're a program within this particular specialty, and I will use infectious disease because they've been a longtime partner with the NRMP for voluntary implementation of all-in. So if an infectious disease program wants to participate in the match, under the all-in policy, the NRMP's expectations and the Infectious Disease Society of America, the match sponsor, would expect those infectious disease programs to place all of their positions in the match and really try to fill the full quota through the match. However, the NRMP does not mandate that every program within a match participating subspecialty participate in the match. All In encourages programs that elect to participate to put all of those positions in, but there will always be some programs in a given specialty that may elect not to participate, and NRMP requirements at the fellowship level do not mandate 100% program participation. We have, and you will see this in the match participation agreement for the SMS, what we call sort of a 75% rule. For a match to really hold at the fellowship level, the NRMP encourages 75% of programs within that particular specialty to agree to participate in the match and to offer 75% of all positions available nationally. So what that's going to mean any given year is there could be up to a quarter of programs within a given specialty, fellowship specialty, that elect not to participate. Under the terms of NRMP policy, that is 100% acceptable. So a long-winded way of saying all interventional cardiology programs are not mandated to participate. We certainly think more participation makes for a better match. But for interventional cardiology programs with those sorts of questions, I would encourage you to go back to the match sponsor, sort of talk to them about expectations, talk about the realities of your recruitment and your needs, and go forward from there. But the long short of it is no, the NRMP does not mandate 100% program participation for any of its fellowship matches.
And I do not see any further questions.
Okay. Anything else that we could try to answer today? We appreciate it's a lot of information. Certainly, if questions come up after we conclude this webinar, you are always welcome. Everybody on this call is welcome to email policy. That's probably should have popped that up here on the screen, policy@nrmp.org. We are here to help you. Sometimes questions are very nuanced. Sometimes your experiences with policy or with candidates that you are interviewing or fellows that you have matched to, some of those situations can be fairly nuanced. And we are certainly here to provide support on any of the information we've provided here today, but certainly your more unique questions or circumstances. Happy to help support you how we can so that the match experience is the best we can help it be for you. Okay. I don't see anything else popping in. Joy, do you have any last minute comments?
No, I just follow with what you said. We're here to help. We're always a phone call or an email away, and we're happy to assist with any kind of questions that you may have.
Excellent. Well, thank you for joining us today. Hopefully you found this to be helpful. Do follow up with us, questions, comments, and we wish you a wonderful rest of your afternoon.